The White Book, Episode 2, The Great Migration, 1971. 1971, The Great Migration. This section discusses the migration of people settling in Watts and South Central LA for the chance at factory jobs left vacant by the war. The rich got richer, the poor got poorer. Discusses the Watts riots of 1965, the assassination of Malcolm X, the 1966 New York riots, the 1967 Detroit and Newark riots, the 1968 assassination of Martin Luther King, and then Goodman Game gets a draft letter for Vietnam. This section sets the historical context, sets the scene, and the conditions experienced, I'm assuming, to give you the reason, the why, and the how for the birth of hip-hop. Characters in this chapter are Goodman Game. He was born 1951, Arkansas, during the summer. Bobby is Goodman's brother. He got beat up by the cops. Larry, Goodman's best friend. Mr. Whitman, Beatrice Whitman. Marion. We could assume that Marion is Afeni Shakur, Tupac's mom. Eblis Harris, he was like the prison guard that beat up Afeni. Deosis Divine, he's Goodman's partner. Elizabeth Lizzie, Washburn, Mac O'Neill, L.T. Eden, Debbie, Duffy, and Brenda. All of these characters, except Marion, are still encrypted. When I referenced Whiteout Got You's character list, they were all listed as encrypted on his list, and Whiteout is the premier Tupac historian on the internet. So if anybody knows who these characters are, please leave them in the comments below, as it will help everybody figure out this part of the story. Since this part takes place in 1971, a lot of us weren't alive to know the historical context and to figure out who is who. The only thing I could say is the movie Dead Presidents somewhat resembled this scene, this 1971 chapter, in that it had that Vietnam backdrop. California, Compton, 1970. Discussed how gangs were family and that college wasn't an option for most because there was no financial aid. One man should never lead a crew. No one should be that powerful. Goodman went to Vietnam in 1970. Welcome to New York City, May 71. Greenwich Village, Marion in a prison cell, what she went through. Marion has a baby in her ready to be born. This must be Afeni Shakur, and that baby must be Tupac Shakur. There's excerpts in the book, and I'm not sure what the excerpts mean, but they are all throughout. And I'm not sure how they differentiate between the actual chapter, except it just might be a side note or an FYI. New York City, Queens. Compared to the 60s and 70s, this section seems to be about where the plot for the war originates. It's Goodman Game talking with Deosis, or Deoses. It's them plotting and strategizing and kind of forming their alliance. This was a relatively short chapter. The next one I think is 1972. So stay tuned for the next episode. Like, subscribe, comment, participate. If you need the book, there's a link in the description. If you want to get the PowerPoint, there's also a link to the PowerPoint file. If you have any suggestions for future episodes, lay it down.